This week, I was really hoping that we were finally going to see Andrew's girlfriend Candice get out on this season of Love During Lockup, but it looks like they're going to make us wait at least another week or two. So I decided to do a deep dive into Candice and see what all I could find out. So let's get into it. First, I came across this charge and mugshot from Candice back in 2017, where she was arrested for possession of a stolen vehicle, and she was sentenced to between 12 and 30 months in prison. And I also found that Candice tragically lost her father back in 2011. So this is a picture of Candice with her father. Her father was very popular in this community where they would go out into dunes and ride on ATVs and different side-by-sides and do different stunts. And this is a memorial that was shared about Candice's father, saying on March 18th, 2011, we lost a member of the community, Chuck, due to an ATV accident. Everyone knew Chuck as a great guy who was a fixture at Bennett Field, along with his wife Deborah and his daughter Candice. And Candice shared in a comment what happened with her father and the aftermath. She said, "Rich is absolutely right. When I see my dad crash, I ran to him and I turned him over and everything was shattered. He was not breathing, he was dead. CPR was not an option, and I know for a fact my dad would not want to be brought back. He would have been a vegetable, and my dad would have ended up miserable. He's my dad, so I should know what he would have wanted to happen. That accident was just that, an accident. My dad never rode crazy or fast at night. He was scared sometimes. I believe that my dad thought the hill he was on was Banshee Hill. It was dark in the sand and the wind was in our faces, and God obviously had a need for him up there in heaven. I just wish he could have waited. I'm 16. My dad and Rich were best friends, and Rich did everything he could do. So did I. But what could we have really done? He was unalive instantly. I begged for help. I knew I should have stayed by his side longer. Thank you to everyone who helped me and my family that night. Even though the efforts were pointless, thanks again. Long live the Banshee Boy. Rest in peace, Daddy. I love you always and forever." And I'm sure that had to be incredibly traumatizing for her to literally see the accident that took her father's life and have her run up and see him in that condition. So this was shared after he passed, and it says posting for Chuck's daughter Candice. I'm still waiting to hear what time, but pretty much it's talking about how they're all going to get together and join in and do this ride and ride up to Chuck's memorial. It sounds like Candice is pretty good with fixing things, because after her father got in that wreck, she ended up fixing his Banshee up and she used it to ride in this little memorial ride. And they went to the memorial and they left a cross in his honor. And that's where Candice got her love for trucks and vehicles, is from her father. And I also found that Candice has been married before. Back on January 16th of 2019, her and this Joseph guy applied for a marriage license, and 6 days later, on January 22nd, they were granted their marriage certificate. And only a few years later, the guy she married ended up filing a family marriage dissolution / divorce lawsuit against Candice, and they were eventually divorced. And while I was doing some digging on Candice, I came across her OfferUp profile, and I thought it was interesting because she's only sold one thing on her OfferUp profile, and obviously she didn't do too good a business, or the people weren't too happy with her because they only gave her 3 out of 5 stars. They didn't give her a review, but that's how they rated the transaction, and it's from a transaction when she sold this Ford Explorer. We know that Andrew ended up buying her this Chevy because her nickname's Chevy and she loves her good old truck. But it looks like this wasn't even a necessity because she had this second car. In the description, this was posted 6 months ago. Clean title, second owner, garage kept, Bluetooth navigation, 6-cylinder, great on gas, new tires, new brakes, new battery, and the reason for sale is I need the money to move into an apartment. $1,900 is a good price for this car. And she ended up selling it. And I was like, why is she trying to get money for an apartment if Andrew claims that, he was paying for her apartment? It didn't make much sense. Now, for the reason why I believe she was trying to come up with money for an apartment. And this is a spoiler, so spoiler alert, but I do know some people already know about this because Sarcasm wrote an article talking about this. But Candice and Andrew, they didn't end up working out, and she ended up marrying another guy on November 11th of 2023. So she just got married 6 months ago to this guy named Jose, and they got officially married on 11/11/2023. Hey, that's a good day to get married. 11/11 is a really popular day to get married, especially in 2023 because it actually lands on a Saturday, and that is the most popular day of the week for couples to get married. And Candice's current husband, he has a record just like her. He has multiple felony convictions, and he served time in prison. Just back in 2022, he was released, so he's only been out for a few years. Candice had a parole hearing in June of 2023, so I'm sure she got out not long after that, and she was married to Jose 5 months later. So it obviously did not last long between her and Andrew in the free world. And this girl has a thing for marrying men whose names start with a J. Candice has been married 3 times, and every single husband's name starts with a J. So let's look at the timeline. She was married for the first time to this guy named Josh, and they ended up getting married in April of 2013. And Candice and Josh were dating on and off since at least February 2011. So they were together for a few years before they got married. And their marriage only lasted a few years. Josh ended up filing for divorce in October of 2015, but the case was later dismissed, and he ended up filing for divorce again 2 years later in February 2017, and it was finalized in June of the same year. I noticed a pattern that every time Candice goes through a divorce, it's always the husband filing for divorce. And I'm assuming the reason behind that is probably because Candice is in prison. Because in 2017, as we talked about earlier in the video, she was locked up for that stolen vehicle charge. And that's the same year that he finally followed through with the divorce. As we spoke about earlier, too, she was married to this man named Joseph in January 2019, and he ended up filing for divorce 2 separate times. He filed for divorce in April of 2021, and then he filed again in December of 2022, and the divorce was finalized in March of 2023, just 3 months before she was released from prison. Despite Candice no longer being with Andrew, she's still driving around the truck that he gave to her, but it looks like he's not paying for the apartment since she had to sell that other car to get money for her rent. But I am very curious to see how this storyline is going to unfold. Just like I was predicted, I did not think it was going to turn out good at all. I felt like Andrew was really going to be disappointed in the end. And Candice, if you guys want to know where to find her on social media, this is her Instagram, this is her TikTok. She hasn't really spilled any tea or anything about the show, but again, we really haven't seen her much this season. It's just a lot of her just like showing off her face and taking pictures of herself. And that's pretty much it. But that is it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about everything in the comments below. I'm sure there'll be more that comes out about Candice as the season goes on. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, check out my lashes and cosmetics at AccordingtoAmber.com, and thank you so much for watching.